are going to talk about balneotherapy. First, using water to soothe and heal is very old practice. The archaeologists found bathrooms remain in the Knossos Palace dating from 107,000 before GC, which proved Greeks appreciated the effect produced by prolonged baths. Hippocrates also wrote about the healing power of water. For example, he recommends the use of saline baths and regularly immerse his patients in seawater to help multiple complaints like muscular pain and arthritis. When the Black Death swept Europe in the 1340, public baths were banned for fear of the transmission of the disease by water. Finally, it was not until the 19th century to see the term balneotherapy appear thanks to Vincent Priesnitz, an Austrian peasant. The spread of information brought thousands of partisans. He then published the cold water cure, explaining this treatment method. Hot springs were discovered and developed, especially in the mountains. Doctors create spas and provide water-based treatment, and now in France there are 105 active thermal establishments, no less than 9 million days of care provided annually. The balneotherapy concerns scar treatment and cure where baths are used as well. It's a rehabilitation in water heated to 32 degrees for a depth of 1 meter 20 to 1 meter 40. A session of rehabilitation in the water lasts 45 minutes with a specialist who is in this type of rehabilitation. Always with you, he will propose you personalized exercise adapted to your problems. Thanks to Archimedean truth, the body is lightened in the water, it's easier to move without hurting and fear of hurting you. The pressure exerted on your joints are reduced. The exercise in the water helps you recover the mobility of your joint, shoulder, hips, etc. The range of motion improves your pain will gradually reduce. The resistance offered by the water also helps strengthen the muscle of the body. This resistance may vary depending on the accessory like planks, noodles, pumps, dumbbell in form. The water is 32 degrees as the effect of facilitating muscle relation. Indeed, when we are in pain, the muscles around the pain area tend to contract. The use of jets of air and water, performing a depth massage by reactivating blood flow facilitates this relation. The pressure of the water extern of the enhanced submerged body will also have the effect of improving the return circulation, intensity, length, and positioning of exercise vary depending on the patient, his age, pathology, the intensity of his pain, as well as the desired effect, muscle gain, pain medication, mobilization. Before any support in balneotherapy and with a consultation with a doctor, it's important to rule out any contraindication whose main one are contagious disease, incontinence, nausea, and risk of emphysema or skin condition disease. Target osteoarthritis, rheumatism, low back pain, tendinitis, gonalgia, overweight persons. All these people are concerned with balneotherapy and come to relieve their pain. People who come to balneotherapy want to improve their mobility damaged by rheumatism or surgical intervention. He reduces pain because work in the water is easier. How carry out a gradual restoration, especially after a fracture on a sprain that requires surgery. Indeed, when we are submerged until the navel, our perceived weight represents 40% of our real weight. The HAPA teacher will have an important role in prevention with this patient to show them the importance of having a physical practice. With these people, work in balneotherapy is possible when the healing of the stump is complete. Balneotherapy may be useful mainly for muscle strengthening, cardiorespiratory reconditioning, proprioception, as well as stretching and relaxation. Balneotherapy increases the fluency of the movement and fluidity. In the swimming pool, the patient have no support because the water carries there. The water carries there. These criterion allow fluidity and fluency in the movement. Or there will be a relaxing effect that play on the psychological aspect of reduced muscle contracture. Smooth heavy leg sensation. Relieve osteoarthritis. Concerning especially an amputation, the patient will be deconditioned and therefore more tired. It will be important to work on the aerobic capacity, which will be easily used when walking. For a person with a lower limb amputee after the operation, there will be time before they can be able to walk. Balneotherapy will therefore be useful since the water will allow the patient to be carried. So there will be no weight and fall constraint. It therefore allows aerobic work either through swimming exercise or pure balneotherapy exercise according to the patient test. By working with an orthopodist, one can create a prosthesis with palm for people who are used to swimming and thus make them swimming. Workouts which are known to be effective and aerobic capacity. If we go for balneotherapy instead, we can do aqua jogging session by purging them on a flotation belt. They will not risk losing their balance and it is a good way to work on aerobic capacity. Muscle strengthening. There is also muscle deconditioning. The balneotherapy will allow them to work on muscle, on them to work on a muscle strengthening without gravitational constraints, which is increasingly reduced as the person immerses themselves. But we also allow them to move upright with an aid without having to force on their feet, arms. The important parts to strengthen will be the trunk, and the upper limbs. As a first step in the rehabilitation, the patient will have to use a wheelchair and cruise. Muscle work is therefore important for the upper limbs so that the patient can support his way to perform transfer, for example. However, it is important that he quickly lets go of this habit and use his leg more. Strengthening the core is important so that the person has sufficient sheathing when walking and relearning to walk. This will limit the loss of balance, which is very common in people with hearing aids. They have to manage more oscillations than the person with two legs. Proprioception will be important with work on balance, this being very disturbed following an amputation of their lower limb. In balneotherapy, there is the advantage of water which supports the body, therefore less stress for an amputee. With the help of a plank, freeze, etc., proprioception can be worked easily based on the work of balance. Stretching and relaxation. Balneotherapy can also have role in the relaxation of the patient if he is not phobic of water. The aquatic environment has soothing virtues thanks to this sensation of floating. Amputee patients see a lot of change either in their body or in the habit of daily living. Relaxation station can help them deal with the stress that this can generate. Stretching will also be important. Balneotherapy will allow you to work with comfortable equipment and good temperature for relaxation of the muscle. In this framework, we decided to work the upper limb in order to allow the patient, when he has his prosthesis, to use technical aids such as a can, a walker, or even a wheelchair. This, this will allow him to be able to use his arm and thus to have the necessary muscle because it will require great effort during the installation of his prosthesis. The patient will work his walking cycle on earth, will allow us, which will allow us to work his upper limbs in balneotherapy.